Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Holly Schumann, the Principal Deputy Associate Director for Healthcare and Insurance at OPM. Holly, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Drew. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So we are now entering open season. There's a lot of changes, really as there are every year, a lot for enrollees to know. What is the best place or the best resource for them to start when they're looking for what to do during open season?
Sure. The best place to start is the OPM website, opm.gov. We have a big splash page for open season, and you'll see a link to our open season page on the main homepage. And from there, you can find all sorts of resources. If you're eligible for FEHB, you can find our FEHB plan comparison tool, as well as our plan information pages, which will show you all of the plan options available to you based on your geographic location, as well as all the plan brochures, links to provider directories, and so forth. If you're eligible for the Postal Service Health Benefits Program, you can also launch from opm.gov to get to the Postal Service Health Benefits System, which is where you can both shop for plans and find information to help you make your decision, as well as enroll, all on that single platform. So that's the first place to start. You can also find there information on our dental and vision insurance plans, as well as the FSA Feds program, though you'll go to a couple of different websites to enroll for those programs. So for FedVIP, you go to benefeds.gov, and then for FSA Feds, our flexible spending account program, you can go to fsafeds.gov to enroll.
And one thing you did mention, thank you for, first of all, for laying all of that out, but one thing you mentioned was that there are plan brochures. That's a really good place to look for information. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about what is contained in those and what enrollees should be looking for there?
Right. So the plan brochure is the contractual statement of benefits. So everything that's covered under your plan is listed in the plan brochure. Now, as you can imagine, those can be pretty lengthy documents, and I know some people find them sometimes intimidating. But one thing to know is that every plan brochure has a page within the brochure that says what's changing for 2026. And so even if you're satisfied with your plan today, I really want to encourage folks to go and look at that page, because we don't want anybody to be caught surprised by a change in their plan that they weren't aware of. The plan brochure also has information on how the plan works with Medicare, as well as, of course, the premium rates, which are always on the back cover, which is where most people turn to first. But there's lots of information there. So if you have a specific healthcare need, I really encourage you to take the time, find the link on our website, download the brochure, and take a few minutes to leaf through it.
Great, thank you. And I know, as I mentioned, there's a lot of things changing and things shift a little bit each year, right? Mm-hmm. So as you mentioned with the plan brochures, you have what's new for 2026. Sometimes that can be a change in benefits, for example, or coverage. There's also a number of plans entering and leaving the FEHB marketplace or PSHB marketplace each mm-hmm. year. Are there any notable ones this year that enrollees should be aware of in terms of the actual plans, the plan options?
Sure. So on the FEHB side, the major exit this year is the National Association of Letter Carriers will no longer offer plans under FEHB. They will continue to offer plans under the Postal Service Health Benefits Program, but not FEHB. We also have some smaller local plans in the FEHB that are also departing. On the PSHB side, the GEHA Indemnity Benefit Plan, so that's Elevate and Elevate Plus, will no longer be participating, but they will still offer plans on the FEHB side. It's important for folks to understand that if they're enrolled in that plan, they need to make another choice during open season. So they need to kind of get in the website early, start looking at the different options available to them, and do the research to decide which plan is best for them. If they don't make a choice during open season, they will be defaulted into another plan, but that may or may not be the best choice for them. So we really want people to take action, go to the website, and make an affirmative selection of a new plan.
And you also mentioned FedVIP, or mm-hmm. the dental and vision plans. Can you go through, what are the premium rates for those plans this mm-hmm. year, and are there any major changes for that program?
Yeah, sure. So we have a variety of plans available under FedVIP. On the dental side, the premium increase is pretty modest. It's right about 3.3%. For the vision plans, the premium increase is on average about 0.5%. So no major changes in premiums there. There is a regional dental plan that is leaving, so folks enrolled in that plan will need to make a choice of another plan if they want to continue to have dental coverage. We do have some additional coverage that's being offered both on the dental and vision side this year. Among dental plans, there are some who are offering additional enhanced benefits for additional cleanings during pregnancy, for example. On the vision side, there's some plans that are offering additional benefits for folks with diabetes, since we know that they require some enhanced vision services. So folks who might be interested in those benefits should take the time to look at the website and find out more information about those. And again, you can find basic plan information on our OPM website, and you can also go to benefeds.gov to compare plans.
Great, thank you. And one other program that you mentioned that is one I know is really important for current federal employees is the FSA Feds program. Can you talk a little bit about what that program offers, and also, I guess just why people should take a look at it?
Yes, I appreciate your asking that question, Drew, because I think it's kind of an underappreciated benefit. But what a flexible spending account is a pre-tax benefit. So you set aside money from your paycheck every 2 weeks to set aside in this account. And then you can use that money to pay for out-of-pocket medical expenses. So things like, co-pays or co-insurance you may pay when you go to the doctor. You can also use it for the co-pays you pay for prescription drugs. And one thing that some people don't realize is that you can also use a flexible spending account to pay for certain over-the-counter products. So, if you buy Advil or aspirin or Band-Aids, contact lens solutions, sunscreen, all of those things can be paid out of a flexible spending account. And it's really good because it allows you, to save essentially 20 or 30% on what you would pay for those things when you consider the tax savings. There's also a dependent care flexible spending account, and that's for the same sort of mechanism, right? You can set aside pre-tax money, but that allows you to pay for things like daycare, elder care if your elder member of your family is a dependent, summer camps for kids under age 13. So both of those programs are really good ways that you can achieve some savings on those expenses. Now, people do need to understand how they work. So there is, a use or lose sort of rule with a flexible spending account generally, that you want to use what you set aside in those accounts by the end of the calendar year. But there are mechanisms where on the health care side, for example, you can roll over any excess funds up to a certain limit, assuming you enroll in a flexible spending account the next year. So all of that information is spelled out on the FSAFeds.gov website. So I'd encourage people to think seriously about enrolling in a flexible spending account. Now, one note there, you can't have a general flexible spending account for healthcare if you have a health savings account, which is a kind of account that's offered in conjunction with a high deductible health plan. But there is a limited expense healthcare flexible spending account which can be used with an HSA.
And both of those are available, or more information is available on the FSA Feds website, correct? For any of that?
Yes. And if you are eligible for an HSA in conjunction with an HDHP, that's something that your health plan carrier will help you set up.
Right. I think that the FSA Feds program, I've heard for many years in a row that it's something that, like you said, it doesn't get a lot of use. Not a lot of people take advantage of it. So it's just important to kind of get that information out there. Especially as, I know I've talked about in a lot of different interviews around open season, the premium rates are going up pretty significantly for 2026. So I want to talk a little bit about that too. As someone who's worked in healthcare and insurance for quite some time, can you talk about how OPM works with carriers throughout the years and how you determine the premium rates?
Sure. So we are engaged with carriers throughout the year. And how we determine the rates is that beginning at the beginning of the calendar year, we issue what we call the call letter, and that's where we set forth our priorities for benefits and rates for the upcoming year. And so then carriers give us their proposals in the late spring, and we spend the summer negotiating those benefits and rates with them. And really what we're seeking to do is to find the right balance of comprehensive medical coverage with affordability. So we're always trying to strike that balance. Premiums are really driven by the cost of care that carriers have experienced and seen their enrollees experience over the previous year, so they kind of carry that forward. And then they look at what healthcare trends look like in the year ahead. And so they take all of that into consideration in terms of proposing a rate for the following year. And then our actuarial team reviews that, and negotiates the rate that is appropriate given the particular profile and benefit structure of that plan.
And how do those premium rates compare to other large insurance marketplaces?
Yes. So what we've seen this year, and we recognize that the premium increases are higher than we would like to see, but we also know that our premium increases are kind of on trend with the rest of the large employer market. For example, many folks compare us frequently to CalPERS, which is the California Public Employee System, and we actually come in a little bit lower when you look at our mix of enrollees in fee-for-service versus HMO plans. So, the kind of takeaway here is that while we work very hard to maintain an affordable set of benefits, we are not immune from the kind of pressures that are just present, across the healthcare industry.
And I want to go back because you said that you're essentially working with carriers throughout the entire year, and that's not just focused on premiums, but also the benefits or areas of coverage. So were there specific things that were discussed this year that are going to make their way into plan year 2026?
We set forth a few key priorities. One is that we wanted to make sure that behavioral health networks were adequate and that carriers were working to expand those networks because we've seen a lot of demand for behavioral health services, and we want to make sure that our enrollees have access when and where they need that care. We also said that we wanted to continue to expand in vitro fertilization coverage, and so we've seen some expansions there to make sure that folks who need that service also have options available to them. We also set forth a variety of priorities related to making your plan actually easier to use. So we require, for example, carriers to put information about the disputed claims process and how you can appeal a disputed claim to OPM. We required them to put that information more prominently on their website. And we also encourage them to make additional enhancements to provider directory tools so that it's easy to find which providers are covered under your plan. And then, there are lots of plan-specific negotiations that go on, again, to really try to strike that balance between affordability and comprehensive coverage.
And what is it in the insurance, marketplace that contributes the most to premiums? Are there certain types of benefits or coverage areas that make the premium increases so large?
Well, what we've seen in recent years is really that prescription drugs are a major driver, and particularly specialty drugs, that can be very high cost, that don't have a generic equivalent, but it can be life-saving, and so we certainly want to make sure that those continue to be available, but they do create significant price pressures on the program. And then sometimes it's just utilization or use. How broadly is a drug utilized? And we've certainly seen that with the GLP-1 drugs for weight loss. We've seen a lot of interest and use of those, but those are, fairly expensive medications, and so that has continued to create some price pressure as well.
Mm-hmm. One other thing that I really want to get into here is how Medicare works in connection with FEHB and PSHB. Mm-hmm. First, can we talk about Medicare Advantage plans? How are those available in the programs, and what should enrollees know about that type of plan?
Sure. So Medicare Advantage plans are offered by some FEHB and PSHB carriers in conjunction with their FEHB or PSHB plan. And I think it's important for folks to realize that, those plans can sometimes be a great value for folks, but they also can have some more limitations in terms of which network providers you can go to and which, sorts of services are available. So folks need to study those plans carefully to make sure that they understand what they're purchasing. But for some people, they can be a really good value.
Mm-hmm. And then also another important piece of this too is Medicare Part D. I know that's something that has changed kind of recently, and there's also differences with how that works between FEHB and the postal insurance program. Can you explain what enrollees should know based on whether or which program they're in?
Sure. So we'll start with postal first. So enrollees in the Postal Service Health Benefits Program should know that if they're retired and they are Medicare eligible, they have to enroll in Part B. in order to maintain PSHB coverage. So in other words, they're not even eligible to be enrolled in PSHB unless they are enrolled in Part B. The other thing that it's really important for them to know is that the only prescription drug coverage they will have is under Medicare Part D. So every PSHB plan offers a Part D plan that works in conjunction with the PSHB plan. In addition, enrollees still have the option to go out on the retail market if they prefer to choose a different plan than the one offered by their carrier and purchase a Part D plan. But they just need to know that they have to have Part D if they want to have any sort of prescription drug coverage at all. On the FEHB side, it works a little differently. Many FEHB plans, though not all, provide a Part D prescription drug plan that works in conjunction with their plan. And if you're eligible and Medicare enrolled, you'll be opted into that plan, but you can opt out and you will still have coverage under Part D, under the underlying FEHB plan if you choose not to enroll in Part D. Now, I should say that under both programs, that the underlying plans continue to provide coverage of certain drugs that Medicare Part D may not cover. So, I don't want people to think that if they go in the Part D route that they will not have the underlying coverage. They will on the FEHB side and on the PSHB side only for drugs that are not covered under Medicare.
That's right. Yeah, that's a very important difference to distinguish. And I believe that comes from the way that the Postal Service law was written, correct?
Correct. Yes, the Postal Service Reform Act, which created the PSHB, required that enrollees, those Medicare eligible and retirees, enroll in Part B, and that the coverage would be for drugs would be under Part D.
Right. And for enrollees who are looking for more information, what are the resources they can look at, or where can they find that?
Sure. So we have some extensive information on the OPM website about how Medicare works with both FEHB and PSHB. So if you go to the opm.gov, you click on insurance, the down arrow by insurance, you'll see that there's a special page for Medicare, and there's lots of information there about how Medicare integrates. In addition, the plan brochures, which we talked about earlier, have an entire section devoted to how the plan interacts with Medicare.
Great. Well, Holly, it's been great having you. We're going to take a short break, but I really appreciate all this information that you're sharing.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick pause for an industry perspective. We'll be right back.